always with these tracks, I'm aiming to do a little bit better than last time with the entrainment. What else can I add? How can I make it even more impactful? So there are multiple layers of binaural beats and isochronic pulses, sound pulses, um, and I went to some lengths to find out how, because one of the things with entrainment is how do you make it engaging for the brain, or you could say engaging for the person, but how do you make it so that it remains interesting without being intrusive? Because there's nothing especially hypnotic about a jackhammer if you just have, that's so there's limits to how intense you want the pulses to be before they become off-putting. So you need it to blend into the music, and then you need there to be enough. And I mean, you both know this very well, but I'm saying it for everyone listening. You need it to be varied enough, subtly varied enough, where it might shift from the left to the right, or where certain frequencies might be fractionally out of sync with each other. This is something I used to experiment a lot with light and sound machines, and I still do from time to time. But it's very easy when using a light, and that's where you get rhythmic pulsing lights along with rhythmic sounds. But when you make one of those frequencies slightly out of sync with the other, what I've found again and again is it becomes very engaging. What was a uniform pulsing field of light and a uniform pulsing soundscape becomes something that has an additional dimension to it. You could say it's a bit like the difference between a public speaker who is head on to you and always talking like this versus a public speaker where there's more dynamism, there's more angles involved. And so that's an analogy, but in the same way with the sounds and the layers of entrainment that went into this track, which I think are especially powerful. Truth be told, I did hours and hours of sound editing towards the end with this, listening to it again and again. I felt pretty wired by the end. I was recommending to people, I don't think of this as a bedtime meditation. I think of this as, this is a dose of an intense meditative journey. And it's absolutely fine to spread that out over a course of days and a course of weeks to give yourself a dose of, you could say, reconnecting with your soul, and then to carry on living your life and to find out what intuitions and what impulses come up, to find out what new ideas or new insights are coming to mind, and then to go back and do another cycle and another cycle and another cycle, rather than, this isn't necessarily something you want to listen to 7 times before bed, because it's a transformational process. But yeah, there's that. So that there's some of these offset frequencies, which I've always found particularly powerful, and I've worked with that a lot more in this particular track. So that may be one of the reasons why I know quite a lot of people, I think, who've listened to it have said this has got really powerful entrainment in it, and it may be that's one of the additional elements there, that means that rather than the brain habituating to it and saying, okay, habituating essentially means that the brain gets a tiny bit bored of it. It starts to tune it out because it's been the same signal so much. So the more you can introduce some dynamism and variety into it, the more the brain remains engaged and interested and curious as it takes you deeper into that hypnagogic dreamlike state.